Good evening and welcome to Press Pass. My name is Mark Masai. This week we look at the state of the nation's security and find out how the fourth estate has fared in keeping the government on its toes in terms of security. Have we been too soft or are we properly on guard? First, let's press preview. Coming up on Press Pass. The 48-hour ultimatum for security officials expired days ago. Arrests were made in Lamu, but that's just about it. Drinking nation and the warnings that keep getting ignored over illicit brews. MCAs are at it again, warning SRC to keep off their allowances. Now, you'd not be mistaken as a foreigner for thinking that Kenya is at a state of war of sorts. It sounds alarmist, but the constant attacks, especially in the coastal region, despite the heavy presence of security officials, makes one question, how safe are we? Tonight on Press Pass, I'm looking at the Fourth Estate's balance of national security versus public interest. Insecurity is a grim reality. Close to 100 people have been killed in Lamu since the upsurge of attacks there 3 weeks ago. The latest attacks being at the start of last week, where 21 people were killed.
And officers from the General Service Unit are currently pursuing criminals behind.
And the government made its presence felt with boots on the ground and with the second in command making a personal visit.
Now I can assure you that we have adequate number of security personnel on the ground.
It was expected that when the first attack happened in Peketoni, and which clearly exposed the inefficiencies in the country's security system, the requisite forces would be deployed to the area in their...
The government has been firm on its stance, but the confusion when the blame game started was evident across the board.
At first we thought it was Al-Shabaab, but now it's turning out that it is MRC as their...
Deputy MRC spokesperson Richard Lewa is now accusing the government of maligning the group's name and image.
In attacks that police say were conducted by the Mombasa Republican Council.
It is crucial to determine whoever was responsible as it informs the response to the attacks. However, the quest for these answers has in the past got media in trouble with the authorities.
Who were the terrorists that laid siege to the Westgate Mall? Are they dead or alive?
Some claim media has been too timid after being intimidated for raising questions over the Westgate attack.
The police are citing KTN journalists John Alan Namu and Mohammed Ali for incitement of a story about the Westgate attack aired last week.
While others say we have made entertainment out of incidences of insecurity.
The coverage of Westgate for me became like a soap opera. And let me say to you today, the fight against terrorism is not a soap opera. It's not a reality show.
There is a tricky balance of national interest and national security. Is it our responsibility to be a pain in the neck of the government when it comes to matters in security, or should we let the government manage the situation with no interruption in the name of the oft-fronted patriotism? We're just putting the discussion in context, and we had to look back at the attacks such as the Westgate attack. Of course, one of the biggest affronts to our leadership and to the country, and of course it is still fresh in our minds what the trauma that it left the country. And tonight I have in studio, backed by public demand, I should say, Mashari Agaido, and you kicked up quite a storm last time. And he is, of course, the managing editor of special programs, special projects, actually, for Daily Nation. And Mano Magoma, you will have to turn down the volume when he's talking. He is the general manager of radio right here at Nation Media Group. And we have Rehab Shango, and she is a blogger and also a person with a keen interest on matters child and women interest, and we'll see later in this conversation how she comes in. She has a keen interest on that. And Dennis Nthumbi, he is an expert in security matters, and I'll start with you because we've had this conversation, Dennis, before.
Yes.
And whether or not we are being a bit too soft But once you told me we're a bit ignorant and we're reactive to matters or to incidences.
I think, Mark, what it is that I like to ask myself is, has the media reported these incidents in terms of a mature, balanced, and objective manner? And the media impact on national security policies decision-making is that out of all the reporting that has been done, you know, the gory images we've done, the stories that the media has done, has the government in any way come up with effective national security policies? Has it? If that question is yes, then the media has been effective.
Has been effective, so we have been pointing this out. Manu,
I'm saying if your answer is yes, that there has been policies that the government has made to improve security matters, then the media has been effective on that note.
Manu, you laughed at Rachel Omamo's comment there that we made a soap opera out of such incidents.
Watching her making those comments, she was as though herself, she was in a soap opera herself, okay, in itself. But having said that, you know, the question that you've asked, I think you've asked us twice now, have we been too soft or have we been on point? Maybe have we been too hard as well? There could be a perspective that have we been too hard? Because you see, if I open the newspapers since Westgate happened, very unfortunate incidents, and any life lost as a result of insecurity is a life too many. So I'll start from there, and we should pack that. But we don't see the media asking the proper questions to the people who are at the policy level, other than waiting for Lamu to happen or any other place to happen for them to splash the headlines or to splash the TV screens.
Case in point, the Lamu attacks, what question do you feel we missed out on?
No, and I'll just quickly start with what is very recent. For example, I'll give you a case example. The entry level for the police has been lowered from C to D+. Now think about it. I'm not seeing any media house taking time to analyze and say what will be the impact of having police recruits who got D+. I'm not saying that D+ is too bad, but just think about the impact of that 5 years from today. Somebody who got a D+ in high school coming to take statements from people at a crime scene.
But wouldn't that be too hard, as you said?
No, that's not too hard. The point that I'm making is that we are waiting for the crime scene to happen to then start reporting, rather than then starting to report from a policy perspective. We are fighting already that MCAs are running this country dry, that they're not educated and stuff like that, because we threw out the university thing, and now...
But Macharia, we're not reporting from a policy perspective, as he says,
we wait for scene. I don't understand what Emmanuel is saying, because...
of course, Macharia, you do.
First of all, I'm a bit surprised that him saying it, because he's the general manager of a media house. Then he's saying the media is not doing these things. He has got all the space and the time and the platforms to do what he's accusing us of not doing. Now back to something more serious.
No, but as a radio station, we actually...
Before you defend yourself.
No, was he saying that...
Before you defend yourself, before he goes... Yes, before we get... We'll get to how better...
But you've just said the media is not doing it. Or do you take the radio as different from the media? You see, that is the problem with these radio people. They think they live in another bubble where they think they are celebs. They're not media.
Yes, yeah? But you're saying on to more serious things.
Yeah, Dennis had raised an interesting point. If the government has instituted policies as a result of our coverage, then it means we are doing a good job. Then that means that if the government has not done anything, it means we are not doing a good job. The media is not the government. The media can point out all these things, and the media can write acres and acres of newsprint and all the kind of space you need on TV and radio. But if you have a government that is forever denying the obvious, looking for scapegoats instead of taking action, Mpeketoni provides a case in point. Up to today, the official version is that it is the opposition.
Do you believe this is a narrative that we have carried, Rahab?
I believe we have tried to remain safe and not make anybody uncomfortable per se. So we are basically, what we're trying to do is cover up things in a way that looks good, because as somebody said, I'm in the tourism sector. We require tourists to come to Kenya, so we want all these things to look like these are isolated incidences, but whereas we have serious security issues. I myself, right now, I would not want to travel to Mombasa, and I love Mombasa, but
So how do you communicate that to your tourists that you?
You know, I'm personally, as a Kenyan, this is me. I'm a normal Kenyan who takes a matatu to work and who loves to go, like most Kenyans go to Mombasa for holiday.
Well, not most Kenyans.
Okay,
You'll be corrected for saying that. You'll be corrected for saying
some
that.
Kenyans like to go to Mombasa on holiday, but I'm actually, I don't know what's going on with the government.
What?
The government is very vague on what's actually going on, and then they tell us, you know, like they tell us this place has been secured, then the next day there's another raid. So I'm like, secured by who? As in, what is going on?
Are we the reason that there is a fear that Rahab, who's in the tourism sector, doesn't feel comfortable going to the coast herself? Do you feel this is a making of the media, or are you safe? Or would you feel safe going to the coast?
First of all, I'd like to say that security sometimes is a state of mind.
True.
You can feel safe feel unsafe in the most safe parts of the country. But again, the way I like to look at it is that has the media exerted genuine power in the National Command Authority? Has it really made the National Command Authority to change their tactics and to change their systems and basically deliver what it is that the Kenyans are looking at? I think not. And I really don't think it's a fault of the media. I think basically everybody in the country is reacting to issues that are rising. I think we haven't looked at it from a focus point and saying this is where...
What focus?
Just look basically ahead. I mean, we wait for Mpeketoni to happen and the media reports Mpeketoni, drops Mpeketoni, there's an explosion in somewhere else, drops that and goes. But, you know, genuine power, exerting genuine power in the command authority to ensure that A, they are kept accountable, and B, there are plans going forward.
Right.
Yeah.
Let me just first of all answer Masharia and Nthumbi. You know, Bashar, this is a place for self-assessment. And when I see the media, it's in all honesty self-assessment. But also at the same time, we must also be clear that the role of the media is not to help the government define its own policy. The government must define their own policy because they are in power. Part of the requirements is for them to ensure that the security all round. The thing then as media that we must do is to then question that policy, number one. And number two, also question or highlight the events as they happen. But it must be a proper highlighting of those events as they happen, right from when we think we know that they're highly likely to happen to when after they happen. And I'll give a case example from Mpeketoni that you asked me earlier on. The land issue that the government is saying in some of its quarters as a key reason for the clashes in Mpeketoni. There was a report, there's a TJRC report that talks about those. There was a YouTube report that I saw that was done in 2010 about Mpeketoni by some women. I can't remember what NGO it was that was going to talk about the land issues in Mpeketoni. But these were never picked by us in the mainstream media at that time then. We've kept silent, we've kept quiet.
Wouldn't we be alarmist if we say there's something that you really need to look into because there's a land problem, prehistoric land problem, when there's no evident issue manifesting itself?
When the TJRC report was first made public, I think it was pretty well digested. The problem is that people have short memories, so they may have forgotten because all these things were reported. Unless we're supposed to report it every day, what we could not anticipate is this outbreak and when it would come. As we say, sometimes we may be masters of all, what do you call it? Jacks of all trades, but masters of none. And that is why we often, in the newspapers, in the TV, we call in the security experts to help us understand and digest and analyze some of these things. But I don't think there's a media in Africa which would have been as aggressive as the Kenyan media has been in reporting on security issues and calling the government to account. First of all, straight reporting. This has happened. Secondly, lots of analysis, editorials, taking positions, and challenging the government to do something. If you go to, it's interesting because the other day we had a meeting with some of our security sector guys, the minister and his assistant and all those fellows, and they were trying to put across to us that if you go to Nigeria, you won't know there's a war. Right. There's Boko Haram. Then I told them that's not a positive, that's a negative, because it means that the Nigerian media is complicit in government which does not want to acknowledge.
So they're telling us to numb down on the...
So they're telling us to go the Nigerian way, and we had to tell them, no way, we will continue reporting the way we do here.
Right. And we'll continue with this discussion. Just want to take a quick break, but with that, also look at the outrage of the week. It's been a little over 2 weeks since the Machakos Governor Alfred Mutua opened the Mwala Kithimani Road in Machakos. It was a first in many respects, you have to give it to him, with the construction of the 33-kilometer stretch in only 3 months, being fully funded by the county government at a cost of 650 million shillings. Now, K24 being one of the only few stations, actually, that revisited the road to see for themselves, and this has been a trending topic on social media. Hashtag as it is 30 kilometers. Questions over the quality of the road that many now say has been falling apart. Let's have a snippet of that.
After Machakos Governor Dr. Alfred Mutua launched the Makutano Kidhimani Road, revealed that potholes have started developing, raising questions on the integrity of the road. But a spot check by K24 yesterday found out that the potholes were being covered by some contractors. While commissioning the road, Machakos Governor Alfred Mutua, during its initiation, a section of MCAs criticized the project, claiming that it was a white elephant project. This comes as Mutua seeks court orders to stop the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission from summoning him of alleged...
And many have been asking us why we haven't been putting the spotlight on the project, because they feel that we are sucked into the PR machinery, the effective PR machinery, they say, of the Machakos government, county government. And as you can see, some of the discussion here, Georgina Auma says, why don't we feel cheated when given goods, services of substandard quality? Beats me. Hashtag as it is. I thought we'd be able to grab or get a screenshot of what I'm going through here. And Kyoko Joseph, it is only how fast Mutua completes his project. It's not how fast Mutua completes his project. Durability, viability, and time value for money for such projects is important. Of course, Alfred Mutua responds on his page on Facebook, and he says, can those spreading propaganda and fake photos of the 33-kilometer Kithimani to Makutano and Mwala Road please take a personal drive and videotape it and film it? They should also talk to the engineering experts and residents who served by the road. Of course, he says many of those who are complaining about the quality of the road do not know what they're talking about. They have no engineering expertise. So this is just one of the outrages of the week. And I want to ask just really quick, have we been sucked in to the PR machinery of Alfred Mutua's county government? Because he is really good at selling his county.
He's a PR expert. He's been in the media for a long time, and he's very good. And I think he's managed to project himself very well. But I think quite often we have not been able to ask the questions. What I find interesting is that when he is taken to task, he is behaving like the normal Kenyan politician. Yep. It is my enemies who are out to finish me. I mean, you expect that of other people, not a guy who claims to be so up to speed with so many things.
You know, when he launched the roads at Nation FM, I remember we asked that it would be interesting to see whether the road will last and the quality of the road itself. It's interesting that now it's starting to come out. But I think we are sucked first into Mutua's publicity stance. But the reason why we are sucked into his publicity stance is because as Kenyans, we've never seen anybody attempt to do anything that's maverick, that is different, that is out there. So when somebody does something, even if it's wrong, we all sit and say, wow, that looks nice. But therefore, nobody takes a moment to question whether did we need the X number of ambulances and or are the lights really truly working across Machakos County, or whether the road is working as it is working.
This is a discussion that we had to mention, of course, here, but the conversation on our focus on national security continues with Dennis, Rahab, and Manwa and Macharia Gaido here in studio. We take a short break. Stay with us.
Coming up on Press Pass, contaminated alcohol claims even more lives despite warnings and crackdowns. Learning from the best, MCAs borrow from MP's playbook on allowances.